I can admit, I like the variety a little bit. But it's those big differences. There's a whole slew of things I had to learn, like Grand March. No Grand March in Britain. That doesn't happen. I could show up for a wedding at 20 to 7 for a 7 o'clock start, whereas here, there's a heck of a lot more prep work and all the rest of it. But then the money's not as good. When my best friend, who came over for my wedding in 2003, when he heard how much I was paying the DJ at my wedding, he's like, dude, right, we gotta start, we'll get a business, right, here's the plan, we're gonna start and we'll have 5 rigs going, we'll be millionaires by the time we're, so he went crazy thinking, this is the way to do it, this is the way, get rich quick scheme by charging what you can charge over here. I know I didn't DJ my own wedding because I wasn't allowed. Although it has to be said, I mean, the difficulty was, is anybody else here, obviously, there's going to be other people here who got married and didn't do their own wedding? Who got married and didn't do their own wedding and didn't know any other DJs? So it's tricky. You have nobody. Now I could have done it in a flash. I could have done it, no problem. I know probably 20 DJs in the Metro Milwaukee area I would trust to do that day. At that time, I knew nobody, and the interview process was hard because, well, it wasn't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say, well, I'm so arrogant. Nobody could do as good a job as me, but nobody was me, and I wanted me, and I couldn't get me. And nobody else is me.
Aww.
Which is why, though, but that's why
you take your last wedding and played it.
There you go. And I haven't worked at the whole Dolly the Sheep cloning thing was done from just up the road from where I was born, but we haven't. Sorry, John, there's more sheep. Sorry, we haven't managed to clone DJs yet. It'll come, but we haven't managed to get there yet. So the difficulty was that I could, it wasn't me, and I wanted me, which is why. I don't have any problem with any other DJ. I don't have a problem with Brian. I've got many problems with Brian, but nothing to do with that. But I don't have any other problems with anybody in my local area. They're not my competition because they're not me and I'm not them. And it's literally that simple. There's nobody can. If somebody really wants me, the fact that they're $50 cheaper or $100 cheaper, that's not gonna. That doesn't matter to them, And if they want them, the fact that I'm weird and have a strange accent, that's not going to make any difference to them. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, to look at the differences was enough to make me not want to do it anymore. And for about the better part of 2 years, I couldn't work out why I was miserable. And I wasn't miserable for 2 years, but I couldn't work out why I felt unfulfilled. And I sold advertising. I have a background in marketing, and I sold advertising, and I worked at places, and I was the manager of a bunch of mechanics. Don't recommend it. If you get the chance to work with mechanics at all in any way, I say pass. But I realized that the thing that I loved doing was the thing that I had stopped myself doing, because it was my choice. It was my decision not to DJ anymore. And I did a wedding in between times. So one of my buddies said, oh, you used to do that, and it's a way of me saving some money. And we don't want you I don't want you to DJ because I want you to come to the wedding. But can you make me some CDs? Do you know where this is going? So anyway, so we made some CDs. We put them on his iPod, his iTunes on a laptop. And of course, what's the first thing that happens when you burn CDs separately and you put them on somebody else's iTunes? Comes up track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4. So we had to spend the better part of about an hour going through and naming all the tracks. And so he had 140 tracks on 5 CDs. And over the course of the night, we've got the CDs playing, and of course they're playing, it's lots of good tunes, but they're playing away. And of course, the iTunes doesn't know if anybody's dancing, and in much the same way as an iPod doesn't know if anybody's dancing. So people are coming on and coming off stage, and I got really frustrated, and I ended up going on stage and basically DJing with the 140 tracks that we had to play with. And it got really frustrating because this woman came up and said, do you have, and she named a track that I didn't have in the 140 that I'd burned. And then she hit me with the line, call yourself a DJ? Whereupon, you know, I'm like, I'm not even getting paid to do this. I did it as a favor, but my kind of personal pride took over, and I couldn't stand to see that happen. And it said, call yourself a DJ, and I thought, yeah, I do. I do call myself a DJ. And that was the point at which I said, you know what? Never, ever, ever again will I do it this way. I either do it the right way, or I don't do it at all. I will never do kind of half-assed, hey, just make me some CDs. Never again. You do it or you don't do it at all. And that was the point kind of when I thought, right, let's get back into it. So I did. This man here was a big help in kind of helped me find the YouTube community a little bit. I've got the t-shirt on there. To help me with the things that the first time around I hadn't been able to do. You know, when you start a business in the 90s, there was no internet. And so you kind of got to make all the mistakes yourself through Brian and through all the other kind of DJs who've all made those mistakes to say, here's a way to not make the same mistakes. So with that, brings us full circle. I now own a company called Accent Events. I primarily do weddings, I do a little bit of corporate as well. And you know, and I'm glad to be a part of this community, and I'm glad to be on this strange piece of carpet tonight. So that's it for me. Thanks very much, everybody, and I'll pass you back to Brian.